All right, what's up, everybody? Today is Thursday, July 17th, 2025. Bitcoin block height 905,958. We're seeing a lot of these dark green blocks here. And it looks like a lot more transactions in the mempool or this mempool. Doesn't necessarily equate to full blocks being mined. You still see these low blocks being mined, but I think the change is sub 1 Satoshi per VByte fee rates. So I think before the lowest you could do a transaction was 1 Satoshi. Anything other than that, I think nodes wouldn't relay the transaction. I know there's a configuration or minimum transaction TX equals 1 in your Bitcoin config file. If you run a node, you definitely should be running a node. Come on now. And now I guess, I don't know what happened, but did Core open it up with the new .30 was that release where they increased the op return limit, or they removed the op return limit. No more limit on op return. Did they also remove the transaction fees? I'm not sure, but this is something new. But I don't know if it's helping. How come these blocks are going in and they're not full? So there's a bunch of transactions sitting in the mempool, or this mempool, and we got 19,000. But the last block just went 9 minutes ago, only had 1,000 transactions from 1 sat to 709 sats. Is that 0.709? How come it didn't just slurp up all the transactions in there? I don't know. I wonder if that has something to do with the nodes or the miners. And also, I posted something on Twitter too. I thought that all miners were nodes, but apparently that's not true, because some miners can just join a pool and they'll just use the pool's software, I guess. They'll just hop right in. See, that wasn't even a full block either right there. So I don't know what's going on here with this. Interesting times. Transaction fees 1 sat per VByte, low, medium, and high priority. Now's a great time to do some bidding on spaces, some UTXO consolidations. And if we're looking here at the mempool goggles, yeah, look, 0.71 Satoshis, these dark green ones. So it's below 1 Satoshis. Dang, so we're getting into micro Satoshis now. Micro Satoshis, are we? Is that what we're doing here? All right, I'm down for it. You know, is it good? I don't know. People will probably say the argument is that now it's cheaper to spam the network. But again, the word spam. The word spam is such a tough word because it can be weaponized. We could say, oh, that's spam, and right, the majority agrees. But you could easily turn that around and say, oh, that's spam. It's like hate speech. You know, spam is like hate speech. What is hate speech? And people could say, oh, we broadly agree that hate speech is something that's mean or, you know, hateful to somebody else. And then it could be weaponized, though. It could be like, whoa, that's hate speech. I don't like that. You know, so one person's interpretation could say that's hate speech. And then someone else could say, no, it's not, you know? And then you could just lie about it and say, yeah, that's hate speech, dude. Get this guy in trouble. Don't process his transaction, you know? That's spam, right? His transaction's spam. It's like, well, no, it's not spam. You know, I'm doing this. I'm sending this. No, that's spam. You're spam, dude. You're blacklisted, you know? So slippery slopes here that we're walking on. I don't know the answer either, because you really don't want to allow, I don't know, right? I don't know. I was going to say you don't want to allow everything on the network, but I guess you do. I guess you do want to allow everything on the network. This is why we got to get rid of fiat. it's important to get rid of fiat here, because with fiat, unlimited dollars can be created to spam, to FUD, to do all these things, to fund all these projects. That it's just unlimited, right? Your resources are unlimited. You can just do it forever. But once we have Bitcoin, right? Let's look forward. Once we're on a Bitcoin standard, then all your spam, you're going to eventually run out of Bitcoin to spam the network. So I think that gets, like, that's past the argument, you know, talking past the argument or past the sale, whatever, where we need to be on a Bitcoin standard pronto and get rid of all this fiat, because the fiat funds anything, and it confuses the landscape. It confuses the scenario. It's just throwing all this noise in the mix, mixing things up, and it's whack. It's messing everything up. But if we were on a Bitcoin standard, then we would say, hey, if those dudes want to spend Bitcoin to put JPEGs on the chain, let them do it. They'll eventually run out of Bitcoin, right? There's only 21 billion. They'll eventually do it. And they might realize, hey, what the hell am I doing? It's kind of like the 51% attack, where how Bitcoin was designed by Satoshi, where he says, yo, you know, you could have 51%, you can attack the network to like change one block or do something else. But if you really want to do stuff, you'd have to change all the blocks back. That would require a lot more energy. And at that point, you're incentivized just to mine just point your energy, your hash rate to mine the Bitcoin blockchain. You'll make more Bitcoin, more money, playing along with the rules than trying to attack the network. And I think that's the same premise here with spam. It's like, man, you guys can spam it all you want, but eventually you're going to run out of Bitcoin. You're going to be like, I ain't going to spam this shit anymore. What the hell am I doing? Unless, of course, you think it's valuable, then you'll keep doing it because you're willing to pay the Bitcoin to make it happen. But fiat screws it all up, because that fiat allows for endless spam and endless anything. The rulers of the fiat can just create fiat for free and just keep the shit show going. That's why self-custody is so important, you know? Tools that use Bitcoin, make it easier to use Bitcoin, transacting directly in Bitcoin. This is the network. This is the bubble. Get into the Bitcoin bubble and expand it, you know? Keep growing the Bitcoin bubble. But the Bitcoin bubble doesn't grow, right? Because there's only 21 million. So it's an interesting thought, but definitely fiat sucks. People are falling for it though. Bitcoin Treasury Company, you know, they're tightening up their ties around their neck like, oh yes, we're professional, dog. This is the real world. Michael Saylor and all these other dudes and all these companies, we're stuffy. You know, they feel important. They feel like they're the real dudes doing it with these Bitcoin Treasury companies. Totally losing the plot, totally missing the value that is Bitcoin, which is self-custody, no man in the middle. And they're just falling for it, you know? It's the new Bitcoin Treasury companies, you know, buy my stocks. People are buying stocks. It's the new altcoin, shit coins. Crazy, man. It's freaking crazy, really. How is this even true? How are people falling for it? But I don't know. But I guess every cycle just has it. Maybe if I'm here long enough, I'll fall for some shit and get brain rot and get all retarded out here and say, you know, fall for whatever. I don't know. Damn. It's just weird, though, to see people falling for stuff. But the whole spam debate, we just got to get rid of fiat, and then it won't even be a debate, because everything will just fix itself, because Bitcoin is limited and scarce. So if you want to dick around and put some pictures on the chain, go for it. You know, the shit will be, it'll be done soon enough. You'll be done. Yeah. You'll be done doing it soon enough. And if you want to do it, hey, who am I to say don't do it? You know, do it. Go for it. And then I guess people would say, oh, well, you know, it's free storage. I'm not running my node to store your stuff. Well, yes, you are, though. Yeah, you are. You are running your node to store all the Bitcoin transactions, the history of Bitcoin. And if you don't like op return, then what's up with Taproot and SegWit and all this shit that everyone was hyped about, saying, oh, this is so great. This soft fork that we had back in whenever the hell we had it, 2016, SegWit, no 2X, you know, I wasn't here for that. I came in just after that. So, but everybody was on it, right? So, hey, you can't say, let's make this change, Taproot, SegWit, and then when the change comes, you're saying, oh, we don't like this. You know, at least, I guess you can change your mind. Sure, fine, you can change your mind. But at least let's go back and talk about it and say, okay, this was a mistake. Here's why. I don't know. It's just a bunch of nonsense. I think overall, the macro, the big picture is that the Bitcoin fees will fix it. And we have to be on a Bitcoin standard for that to happen. If we're on a fiat standard, then all this chicanery can continue. All right, let's take a look here at Bitcoin USD price, sitting around 117,748 US pieces of paper. 24-hour high was 120,134. 24-hour low, we're creeping on it right now, 117,469. $1 gets you 849 Satoshis. And when this changes, $1 gets you 849 Satoshis. When this changes to 1 Satoshi cost you $849, that's when the paper fiat goes away. That's when the Bitcoin standard becomes the unit of account. And that's when the whole spam doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You're free to spend your money on whatever you want. Spend your Bitcoin on whatever you want. Bitcoin is money. Do whatever you want. You know, somebody will mine your shit. Bitcoin Spaces protocol. And hey, is this contentious right here? People are saying this might be spam. Is it? Is it? Well, I don't think so. Human readable public keys are very important for Bitcoin adoption. Spaces protocol is a tiny layer, layer 2 of Bitcoin. Tiny, minimal footprint on Bitcoin, respects the blockchain, cypherpunk, permissionless ideals. It seems great, in my opinion, the way that it's built. It's being developed. It's brand new. Only 1.5 total Bitcoin burned. 7,781 bids. 2,296 transfers and registers. And only 2,392 names have been rolled out. So still very early here, but seeing some traction, seeing some adoption. This will be huge once it gets built out with the subspaces. These are all top level spaces. And then you can have subspaces, super scalable. I think this has the potential to bring billions of people onto Bitcoin. Makes Bitcoin a lot easier. It's basically DNS for Bitcoin. Permissionless DNS, that is. And it works with Nostr. It works with Lightning Network. And just having a wallet address that, you know, you can use at Fabric instead of BC1Q12345. Let me double check that. No, just send it to MO. Send it to MO, dude. That's my wallet address. Of course we're going to have this. Of course this is inevitable. Human readable public keys? Yeah. We already have human readable private keys when you get your seed words, right? That's a standard. Oh, this is a new standard too. Spaces protocol. And it's being built out right now. So once it gets built out, once there's use cases, right now it's just speculative. Everyone that's buying this is just speculating that it's going to work. We don't know. It's being built out right now. So we will see once it gets built out. And I think it is. Hey, look, I've been looking at the domains, Bitcoin naming for a couple years now, and I'm grateful that I found this one because it looks great. You know, and maybe going through the iterations of finding all the other ones, because there's a ton. There's a ton, because it's obvious that we're going to do this. Somebody's going to do this naming on Bitcoin. You're not going to have these long strings for public addresses. wallet addresses. It's just going to be these simple human readable names. So we're looking for a standard. The world is looking for a standard. And I think this one fits right up there. Permissionless, it uses low resources, minimal on-chain footprint. You know, it makes the Knots crowd happy. It makes the core crowd happy. Doesn't bloat the chain with unspendable addresses. Doesn't like create the UTXO to burn it. You know, it doesn't create all these UTXO bloats and stuff like that. So that's good. You can check it out, spacesprotocol.org. Spaces in auction, Fabric. Right now, that can be claimed, but still open for bidding. Other spaces in auction, we have Church, Arab, VE, TZ, MO, VN, Babylon, and BR. Claimable in about 22 hours and 30 minutes. Recent spaces actions, VE, NG, SA, BR, and Babylon bids. Transfers on Noble, TR, Algeria, and EIP. Upcoming rollouts, some princess head emojis, BDKY Puni codes, 126 and 200. Right now we got 3 open slots here for the next Spaces rollout, which will happen in about 15 hours and 10 minutes. The latest rollout names, we saw one princess Puni code rolled out. A bandage head, or is that a princess? That is a princess. All right, all the princess heads rolling out. Royal Fetty, UZ, KG, and VG also rolled out with some other Puni codes. Church, a bid on Church. Church, 10 total events, 9 total bids, up to 20,000 Satoshi'S. Seeing some action here. Church at Church. I'm going to church. All right, let's take a look at the marketplace. Spaces.market, latest listings. Robotics for 1.5 Bitcoin. All right, getting up there now. Lion, Reflect, LS, Original, GQ, Toast, a toast to you. PR, and Rice. All right, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you all for watching.